When you're lost in the darkness, look for the ClickerCast. Welcome back, everyone, to our limited run series here at GamerGuild TV, where we'll be breaking down each and every episode of HBO's The Last of Us for your listening and viewing pleasure right here on the channel. We'll be digging deep into the plot, the characters, the video game comparisons, and every little spore-sized detail in between. So don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell so you kept in the loop with all of our great content, and do join us live every Wednesday where we get together to talk about all of this Last of Us fun. We also have the GamerGuild Podcast, our weekly gaming show, where myself, Richie, and our sometimes friends join us for breaking down all the weekly games.
Friends.
I know what I meant to say there. Sometimes friends, sometimes we're not. On the GamerGuild Podcast every Monday that goes live, and of course, if you are a big Last of Us fan and you're also a gaming fan, Part 1 and Part 2 on PS5 are up on the channel now for you to enjoy at your leisure. But we're here this week to talk about this week's episode. Your hosts for this week are, of course, myself, as always, Chris. You can find me at Arcane Rogue on social media, and the brick to my bottle, your co-host for today, the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
Hello, everyone.
At RichieC89. I always forget to do your social thing because it's essentially just your name. So I always think like your name is enough, boring. But then it's Richie at Richie. But yes, Richie C89. This Richie is episode 4, titled Day 1, which is a throwback to the video games, of course. In the game, the way they subsequently lay out the scene is they do Day 1, then Day 2, then Day 3. And then they go back and do Day 1, Day 2, Day 3 from a different character's perspective. But we don't have that luxury when it's a TV show. This particular episode was directed by Kate Herron, who you may know from, she did the majority of Loki Season 1 over on Disney+. Okay. And she also did a couple of episodes of Sex Education over on Netflix as well. So you'll probably be familiar with her work in some regard. The writers, as always, Neil Druckmann, Haley Wegner-Gross from Naughty Dog, and Craig Mazin, the main showrunner of the series. The plot summary for episode 4 is we're joined in Seattle. Ellie and Dina find themselves amid a brutal battle between the zealous Seraphites and a ruthless militia, aka the WLF. We like to start every single show by kind of just giving our overall impressions. Richie, episode 4, Day 1. We're at Seattle now. What were your thoughts on this week's episode?
We actually got the Seattle Day 1 title card come up as well.
We did, yeah. It started with a flashback.
But I thought it was a good episode. Again, it feels like a bit more of another setup episode, but although it does go in more so than episode 3, there's still some setup, especially around Isaac. Mm-hmm. But it very much does actually get back into some action going on and some actual very interesting character development going on. So I think it's a very solid episode.
Yeah, I agree. It was solid all around. It was a little bit more... I'd say you're right there. It kind of echoes the setup of this episode 3, which we spoke about. And... The reason I think I totally agree with you, I feel like it had a little bit of a slow burn again to it. I do feel it's because we've left so many characters behind who we know. It kind of feels like they're missing from the show. Cast. Yeah, I mean, we've gone. So this was another episode where we didn't have any Tommy, didn't have any Maria. The location of Jackson, which we're quite familiar with at this point, is gone. Obviously, R.I.P. Pedro. We're going a full episode without him again, no flashbacks or anything like that. So it does feel like there's almost like a chunk of the show missing. And once again, we'll get into it, but like we didn't really see anything of Abby or her crew. So you're talking essentially collectively probably 8 characters who we know, who they just exist somewhere out there in the world already. So yeah, it kind of feels like there's something missing, but I agree. There was a little bit more action this week's episode, and we learned a lot about character development from a few other people. So it's interesting.
I feel because they've already been greenlit for season 3.
Yeah.
And they wrote this season with the assumption that they were going to get that. Mm-hmm. I think they're taking the time a bit, where I think if a less confident writer might have just tried to cram the entirety of game number 2 into one season of television.
Yeah.
And then it might feel a bit rushed, characters feel underdeveloped, but giving characters like Isaac a little bit more time than they get during the game, I think could be like pay dividends in the long run. Probably more in season 3 than season 2, though.
Yeah, I'd completely echo that. I think Craig and Neil in the official podcast do go a little bit more in saying like the writing approach, and they quite enjoy writing the mystery but then allowing it to unravel throughout the seasons, and as you said, always write as though you're always going to get a season 3. And I think a lot of stuff we're seeing in the beginning of season 2 is really going to emphasize some of the events that we're probably going to see nearer the finale, and then also the majority of the setup for the beginning of season 3. The consequences, the different parties that we're introduced to. This particular episode, the WLF and the Seraphites, a little bit more in detail, and where Ellie and Dina are at as well. But yeah, again, another overall solid episode of TV where we learn a lot more about the characters we know and love. So shall we get into the plot, Richie?
We should.
Brilliant. Let's start off then. So as you alluded to, we start in Seattle quarantine zone back in 2018. So we are probably about 11 years before the current events with Ellie, Dina and all them kicking off. So a couple of years after the initial outbreak, but at the same time, not too far gone. I guess you got to imagine this is we joined a group of Fedra soldiers as well. So we're still at a time when the remnants of the government pre-apocalypse still have a hold on places. You got to imagine Boston, where Joel is right now, is still ticking over. Boston obviously went right up until the year before these events that we're witnessing now.
Well, Boston Fedra could still be in control for all we know.
I mean, by the timeline there will be. This is 2018. I don't think.
So even in the present time with Ellie and Dina, Boston could be still run by Fedra.
Oh shit, yeah, because Joel and Tess and them left, didn't they? For some reason in my mind, I'm like, it collapsed after they left, but it's most likely probably still a functioning quarantine. So I didn't even think of that for some reason in my head. I think maybe because of the game or something. I totally wrote Boston off as like it's done and gone. But yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so there are remnants of Fedra all over the place still. Be interesting to see if they all link up in like future seasons or games at some point. Of like, no, the government does still exist, just in a shitty Nazi regime kind of way. But I digress. So we're back in 2018 in the Seattle QZ. The group of soldiers inside a truck, joking back and forth about it. We get one of them referencing a character called Greenberg, and he's basically regaling a tale of like how they beat up some innocent civilians. It sounds like, of just like, haha, yeah, they said this, we said that, and then he smashed his face into a wall, and that. Did you recognize the actor?
What you mean, Jeffrey?
No, not Isaac's actor.
No, I was thinking Jeffrey Reitman, but you mean Josh Peck
from Drake and Josh? Is it Josh or is it? Yeah, it's Josh, isn't it? Yeah.
I didn't recognize him. Yeah. But it's probably been about 30 years since I've seen him. Yeah. In anything.
Yeah. As soon as I saw him, I was like, I think I've seen him on Instagram or something recently where he puts videos up of him like doing annoying things. So like going to cut a pie in half and then cuts it the wrong way or something just to annoy he does like little skits like that on his feed. He was also in Oppenheimer. He had a brief cameo in Oppenheimer recently. So I've seen him in stuff recently. So as soon as I saw him, I was like, I recognize that face. Absolutely. And then he kind of regales the story about beating people up, and there's another guy in the truck who's seemingly a rookie. The truck pulls up and he says like, why do you call them voters? And that's when Isaac, who you don't see initially, who's the lieutenant or the sergeant of the crew,
he's just sat in there with them, isn't he?
He kind of like interjects and says, we call them voters because we took away their right to vote, and someone started calling that to mock them. So again, just a nice like political insight. I will say for this particular part, the only thing I didn't like, and it makes me sound like such an old man, is Josh. I'm just going to call him Josh because that's clearly who we know him as. Josh of Drake and Josh fame. Just the choice of language. I know he's supposed to be like a weird arsehole guy, but watching The Last of Us and HBO and stuff and hearing someone say spooge and jizz guy was like, this doesn't seem like the elevated writing I'm used to from this show. It seemed like such a... I get they're trying to paint his character as like an asshole and a knobhead who's like with the lads and he's joking at someone else's expense. But I was like, did you really need to say it? Like, because that just took me out of the moment straight away. Like, he could have just said like something. It just could have been a more... I guess I'm just used to that type of writing that's like very impactful and dramatic. And having Spooge and Jizzboy was like, this doesn't feel like The Last of Us for me. Or am I just an old man shouting at a cloud here?
I think it might be a difference between us and the US thing, actually.
Yeah, possibly.
I could think of them in the UK. They would the choice of words would be different, but the stories might be similar.
Yeah. I just felt like they could have showcased beating up innocent civilians or mocking them in a way without... I don't know, it just took me out for some reason, but it makes me sound like a bit of a prude, but...
I think it's a terminology.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah. Either way, they're all fucked anyway because the the truck rocks up. They look out through the window. We see a group of like just random people gathering outside in the streets. Presumably, we're outside of a quarantine zone at this stage. Like they're going on a military exercise outside. Otherwise, why would there be random people just in the street? Like they don't look like healthy quarantine zone civilians, if that makes sense. They seem like they're out in the rural sticks a little bit.
It's hard to know, and I don't think it matters where they are or what they're doing.
Very true.
For the context,
Truck pulls up. He says, like, right, I'm going to go out and talk to them. The other soldier's like, Sergeant, that's against protocol. He snaps back at them, asserts authority, and says, like, your protocol is to follow your sergeant's orders, so sit down, goes out. He takes the rookie with him. He's like, you come with me, come learn something. Heads over to the lady. They share names. I think it's like, are you Harahan or something? Are you Isaac? And then, they kind of shake hands. And they don't shake hands yet, sorry. They kind of nod, agree. He just casually just walks back to the truck, unhooks 2 grenades, hoys them in, shuts the door. You hear the screams, boom. Seemingly all dead. Driver falls out the front of the vehicle, guns him down. The rookie's like bricking it at this point, thinking like, what the hell's going on? He goes back to the lady, shakes her hand. She says, welcome to the fight. And then he turns to the rookie and says, like, time to make your decision. And then and then we got cut to credits. So what a cold opening, Richie, of like, is this Isaac's moment where he's clearly high up in Fedra, presumably, and then he's like either seen enough or he's done or he wants to take his own control. Like, what did you read into this?
I feel like reading into the subtext of the conversation he had in the truck. Mm-hmm. He's around people who absolutely, because he's a guy who existed pre-outbreak.
Yep.
He's a fairly old man. He knew what the world was like before Outbreak Day. Mm-hmm. And now he's seeing people his colleagues mock people.
Yeah.
Who that they're actually abusing, that they are oppressing. And I think he probably felt Fedra was the right thing to do initially, if I'm reading between the lines quite a bit here.
Yeah.
To gain control, but I think the more time he spent with Fedra and he's seen Fedra's never relinquishing that control, they've took away like things like the right to vote, which, I mean, they don't have to tell any Americans how important that is to their culture.
Absolutely.
I think he's kind of like, you know what, Fedra's not the right way to go about this. We need to get rid of Fedra.
Yeah.
We need to liberate people from Fedra.
Yeah, and we've discussed it before, right? Of like Fedra echoing like fascist Nazi sentiments of like, that starts off by the protecting the people, but then when you take away their rights to vote and you keep them locked in and you're in control of their food and their communications and what they aren't able to do, it starts to become a bit more oppressive than it looks at first glance. And you're right. And again, he's of an age where he'll have been well aware of the history of like World War II and like how important independence is, as you alluded to. So watching that fester for years,
shit went down. Martial law was declared to try and contain the situation, but then they never let go of that. So it's like, and now it's got to a point where people find enjoying abusing each other. Yeah, and I think that's why he probably sees Fedra as like irredeemable.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice little
cold as fuck though. Just 2 grenades in there. Close the door as if it's nothing.
Good thing he knows that door's strong enough to hold the grenades in because he could have blasted his own face off at the same time. It's an interesting little nod to the game there. You do find, I don't know if you can recall, in the open zone bit where you get to explore with Ellie and Dina, under the bridge you do find a Fedra truck with a bunch of skeletons inside it, and you find a note from Isaac asking someone to defect from Fedra to join the WLF. So in an interesting way, we've kind of seen that scenario.
So we're basically seeing that they've took that little story from the game and now they've played it out.
Yeah, and presumably 10, 20 years time, that truck will have skeletons in it. Someone will come along, open it and go, oh shit, but they won't have the note instead. We should also point out as well, now we're here with Isaac's character, played as you allude to, played by Jeffrey Wright. You'll probably know him from Felix Leiter in the Daniel Craig James Bond series. He's also in Hunger Games. He's been in quite a lot, actually. He's quite a famed actor. But more importantly, Richie, he played Isaac in the game as the mocap. So just like Mel Dandridge, who came back to play Marlene, we've got Isaac coming back to play Isaac once again. And I'm so glad, because I feel like in the game, Isaac's character was very much, felt like it was part of a bigger plot point that Naughty Dog probably wanted to explore. They probably had loads of stuff wrote out from lots of interaction scenes with characters, his backstory. And he's pretty much just diminished to a cameo in part 2. And you never really know what the true outcome is. So it's like, it's nice to see immediately we get this backstory that ties him to Fedra, ties him to why he might be a military leader or qualified enough to lead the WLF. And I think, that's the great thing the show's allowing us, is if you're fans of the game, it just fleshes out people's backstory.
It gives you it gives them chance to explore these characters in a way that doesn't work for the game, because in the game, it comes down to your perspective. In the game, you're locked into the perspective of the characters you're playing as. Yeah. It makes more sense that Ellie doesn't know much about Isaac.
Mm-hmm. And she doesn't need to.
Does she even encounter him at all?
No, it's all through Abby. It's Abby at the HQ, Abby on the Seraphite Island, and that's it. Yeah. So again, it's just a cameo he gets, but he's clearly got a massive impact on Seattle and the world and the people within it. But we'll get more into that. So it's nice to see Jeffrey Wright back. We also get the character Hanrahan introduced, who's the lady he shakes his hand with. She's played by Alana Ubach, who people might recognise from Euphoria. She plays the mum in that, and she was also recently the hippie lady in Venom 3, if anyone went to see The Last Dance in cinemas, unfortunately. But she's again a character that I'm not familiar with. Initially in the trailers, I suspected she might be the Prophet, the Seraphite lady. We don't really know yet, but seemingly she's currently the leader of like a rebel group, potentially.
If I had to speculate, we know at some point the WLF fight against Fedra and some of the leaders get killed. Mm-hmm. I think she's one of the ones who gets killed, which leads to Isaac taking over as the head of the WLF.
Yeah. In the game, we found like the notes, didn't we, in like the basement of like a bank or somewhere, and we read the letters of there was like 3 potential leaders of this WF breakout rebellion, and then seemingly all of those conveniently got caught or grassed up to the Fedra crew, which got them killed, which meant Isaac was the only one left in charge, really. And then we said it was quite ironic how the WLF then started to repeat the same mistakes Fedra made.
Yeah, I think it's implied. I've always felt it was implied in the game that it was almost Isaac had leaked information to take control.
Yeah, tactical. But so it'd be interesting to see how these. Again, whenever the show adds new people in, I'm always suspicious. I do just think the lady who plays her, I think, because she's not a well-known actor, but she's got some decent credits behind her. I think if you're going to add her in, she kind of almost looks like the lady we see on the motifs and stuff up on the walls of spray painted, like a little bit gaunt.
Yeah.
Similar kind of hair and visuals, but I'm like, we'll see. We're going to see more of her, no doubt.
She could defect.
She could. But again, this is where we don't know. Is Isaac joining the WLF? Is he joining the crew that the crew that will eventually become Seraphites? We don't really know because this is so many years ahead. Actually,
I'm taking this as he's joining the WLF. Or what will become the WLF.
Because Josh from Drake and Josh, remember when his little jokey speech says he stopped the voters, the civilians, for handing out pamphlets? And he says, I thought it was WLF pamphlets at first, but then it turned out to be some religious shit. So it's almost like you can see the inception of both of these groups are happening right now before their eyes as Fedra is collapsing from within with the likes of Isaac and stuff. But it sets up, again, a good premise that could potentially feed into the rest of the season and start season 3 as we get deeper into Seattle and the dynamics of that area. But either way, we then cut to the opening credits. As we alluded to last week, Ellie is still on her own in the opening credits. But then we get back to the main show. Ellie and Dina are looking for supplies in Weston's Pharmacy, which is the pharmacy in this world. We've seen it a couple of times. Dina finds something that the audience can't quite see. She keeps it hidden from Ellie and keeps it hidden from us because the camera is very specifically, you can kind of see it. She's found something interesting but doesn't tell you what. Her body language changes. There was a little joke about rocking a yeast infection, which was like, classic banter. I did enjoy Ellie's reply, though, where she was like, not today, but give me time. I don't know if you watch the new Rockstars Easter egg breakdown of the episodes as well on YouTube.
I did, yeah.
He goes in way too in depth sometimes. Like they're saying about like how yeast is actually a type of fungal infection which links in with the show. It's like, dude, you're reading too deep into this. She's just found some cream.
It's a bit of banter, yeah.
In a pharmacy, and they're making a joke about it because they're two girls. Dina finds something. We know what it is, but we'll get to it later on. The girls continue their journey through a neighborhood adorned with rainbow and pride memorabilia. Ellie says, they're both asking with each other, what's up with all the rainbows? Ellie says maybe they're all optimists, which again, I think it's such a time and a place moment where you realize in that particular section, oh shit, they wouldn't know anything about pride or LGBTQ stuff. Well, I mean, other than like in Jackson, their community,
not actually, yeah.
If they're both born after the apocalypse, and to make a definitive point, if Outbreak Day was in 2013 in the show, I'm right. I'm thinking basically. I remember on the thing they say that gay marriage wasn't legal in Washington at the time when the outbreak happened. No. It was like the year after or the summer after in the real world. So it's like actually at that time in America, we don't know if the world went to shit. I guess all that stuff goes out the window and everyone's back to just survival. So yeah, and we're going to see in the dynamics of Ellie and Dina like how these relationships plan out. So it's interesting.
There's no one overarching government in the nation anymore. Mm-hmm. It's all individual, like towns like Jackson or controlled by Federate or outlaws. So the concept of a singular law that applies to everyone just doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah, it was just interesting from the walkthrough and like not have a clue. It's like it's for you. It's for you both, and you kind of just like, oh, well, maybe they're optimists with their lovely I think Ellie calls it Rainbow Town or something at one point. They come across an abandoned tank covered in moss and stuff. Ellie goes to investigate because she has to. They're very curious about the tank. You can find a tank in the game. She has a look in, just says like, yeah, it's full of bodies. There's 3 people in there, burnt to a crisp. She acknowledges that this is similar to the first Apollo missions that went to the moon. She kind of names the 3 astronauts, bang, bang, bang. Which I guess is a bit of foreshadowing about Ellie's interest in space travel. We've seen it a little bit in her lodgings back at home in Jackson. She has like little spacecraft and astronaut stuff and posters around in her room, but we don't really see that much of it in the show so far. And so it's kind of like a foreshadowing there. But ultimately, she finds all the Fedra bodies lying around and says, yeah, this isn't anyone doing anything of any importance. It's simply just assholes killing other assholes, just to put a finer point on it. They spot the WLF. Gina, I should say, spots the WLF painted on a massive radio tower or a broadcast tower in the distance. And they think, like, right, let's plan out our approach a little bit better here. Which, I guess, back to our point last week's episode, Richie, just they're here. They're in Seattle already. Yeah. Like, the Ellie and Dina's journey over... How long did you say it would have taken?
4 days on bicycle.
On bicycle. They're here already. Seemingly... No problems other than passing the Seraphites in last week's episode. The dead Seraphites.
And that's, bear in mind, 4 days on bicycles with actual modern roads and infrastructure.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's presumably they're keeping off the roads.
Yeah, so it's probably a week or two, imagine, on horseback. And
with no compass or Google Maps or anything as well.
And Google Maps doesn't account for sleeping.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, yeah, you're probably talking a week to 2 weeks of
weather.
Cross-country.
Hiding from weather.
Yeah. So again, it's interesting. We could have had a little mini series just of them 2 on a road trip, but no, we're here. We found them. As soon as they spot the WLF sign, Ellie's like, right, let's go get them. Let's go fucking kill Abby. Dina, once again, being the logical, practical thinker, is like, hold your horses there, Shimmer. We are about to head in broad daylight to a massive tower. Is that the best approach? And Ellie's like, yeah, you're completely right. We're idiots. Let's find some cover, stash away, and plan out our approach, essentially. Wait for nighttime. This is where the 2 girls find a music shop. They kind of lure Shimmer in. She's quite content just eating the grass in the corner. And they lock up, and it's a music shop, Richie. It's a pretty much 1-for-1 recreation of the music shop from the game. Beautifully realised. They walk around. Ellie kind of scans through some of the vinyl records that are left. I guess the shop's kind of, what would you say, like half taken over?
Yeah,
nature's got in.
Most instruments are useless. Yeah, nature's got in. It's decomposing. Most instruments will be ruined.
Yeah,
stupid affections.
No regard for the musical arts.
Yeah.
They kind of mess around. Dina's having to go on the drum kit, the keyboard as they mooch around. Ellie goes upstairs and Dina says, like, yeah, shout if you get attacked or something. And upstairs she finds the game. She finds the video game scene that we all know and love so well. As you said, lots of guitars on the wall, all ruined, but there's one guitar box, Richie, sat there, sealed up. She pops the pins, opens it up. Thankfully, it had them little silicone packets in. Just to keep all the moisture out. Because, presumably over 23 years at this point? 24
I feel
years?
like after 23 years, that's maybe not going to work. But
time.
It might do.
It depends how tight of a seal, I guess, it is and how much moisture. But, either way, we've got a perfectly preserved guitar after 25 years, quarter of a century, sat there. It needs a bit of a tune. Tuning up though, Ellie plucks it out, finds the guitar, and she sits down, nestles in the spot she does in the video game, and she starts to play the acoustic version of the Aha classic, "Take on Me," which we all know so well. Very different. I actually much prefer the acoustic version. Like the original is an absolute banger, but the acoustic version comes across like so much more subtly, and it has like romantic,
it's more melancholic, isn't it?
And the lyrics, the lyrics actually surprisingly brilliant for a pop song wrote in the 80s, and played at such a tempo to actually slow it down and hear it said out loud and just listening to it. It's got a lot of meaning to it. But Ellie starts playing it on guitar. Dina comes upstairs halfway through. She kind of interrupts her a little bit and then urges it to continue. And we get this beautiful scene where Dina sits down, she observes Ellie playing through the rest of the song, singing the lyrics, and you kind of know, I guess, in this moment, Richie, this is where Dina just falls in love with Ellie.
Yeah,
she's just performing the song in the apocalypse, and there's just the two of them. Obviously, Dina has a little secret which we'll get to as well, so she's probably quite emotional as well, and a lot of stuff going on in her mind. And there's the girl who she's shared a kiss with, she's on this adventure with together. There's just them two against the world right now on a mission, and she's just playing a beautiful rendition of a song that you've got to imagine music's far and few between in this world as well. Like actually seeing someone sit down and sing and play a really well performed song, you ain't getting that every day back home in Jackson. And you got to imagine the rest of the world, if you haven't got a cassette player or a record player and electricity, music just is a lost art, probably.
And it just goes to show us how important someone like Joel was. Like, just to teach that to someone else, to keep that art style alive. Mm-hmm. It's impressive. Yeah. Because if you walked into a room, you've heard of guitar music, but you haven't heard that much, and you just saw a guitar and went, how? Right now you need to learn how to play the fucking thing. Yeah, you don't have the internet.
No YouTube tutorials.
No tuition books, nothing. You've just got the instrument there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even probably know what tuning it needs to be in.
Yeah.
And even if you did, how to get it in it.
Yep. There's some sheet music. There's some strings and your fingers. Figure it out.
Oh, you don't even have sheet music?
Yeah.
Where the hell are you getting sheet music from?
It's the music shop she's in. But
now she's in the music shop. But Joel's a lot of the stuff, like Joel is probably just figured out.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the way Jackson's set up, they probably have a music shop fully running, selling everything. Yeah. Where did you get the strings from in episode 1 when it needed new strings? I just popped to the shop. But Dina actually remarks, she says, like, Joel taught you well. And Ellie's like, yeah, he did. And that's kind of like, again, nice little touching throwback to like Joel, who we know really touching moments, and how important the guitar and music probably will be to the game, the show, and the characters so far. We should point out as well, this like beautiful scene is as beautiful as it is in the game as well. It's entirely missable. Like, this isn't a little open world pocket of the game where you get to do a little bit of exploration, and you can just totally
90% of that area is just completely optional.
Mm-hmm. It's just if you want to
just
scavenge,
go straight to the objective and get out of there.
I'd like to think no one ever does though, right? No. But I remember being blown away.
Some people
in the
probably
game.
will.
And it's quite tactical in the game because you can miss it. I think when you do discover it on your own free will, just you have the map, you go from building to building, you get loads of gear, you kind of get loads of scavenge parts, and it's always worthwhile doing in the game. But I think when you discover this moment, there's a cutscene, I think it catches you as a gamer a little bit off, because you're not meant to find it almost, because it is like you could miss it.
Yeah.
And it does add a little bit more gravitas to it for such a beautiful scene as well. And a song I'd argue most people in the world probably know as well, but haven't heard in this manner. This song is going to go after this week up the Spotify charts, undoubtedly.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It did when the game came out. And if you ever want to go watch it, there's the actual band Aha do an acoustic version as part of the MTV Unplugged series. And coming from them, again, it sounds even better. But I think
the guitarist, I listened to the official Last of Us podcast, and I think the guitarist was actually on set from Aha
brilliant.
during the recording.
That's great. Give some.
Or at least, I think Craig, I can never tell. I think Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann's voice sounds very similar. So I can never, sometimes in the podcast, I can never tell which one's talking. One of them knew him from like either, like, I think it's like the wife worked with their wife or something. So they had a contact directly to them.
Brilliant. Just ring them up.
Which is probably how they got it in the game to begin with.
Yeah, terrific. And interesting because in the game, Ellie usually starts off by playing one of the Future Days songs. Is it Future Days by Pearl Jam? Is that the song? That the one that Joel traditionally is, which we haven't seen in the show yet. I think that's a tactical choice to keep it out of it until we get maybe a flashback with Pedro Pascal. When he's going to perform it for Ellie, maybe, and it kind of has the lyrics have that emotional impact. Whereas I think in the way the show's being panned out is because we haven't started with flashbacks necessarily, we don't need it just yet. But the lyrics are so poignant to the story being told and Ellie and Joel's relationship with the game. They've got to have that in the tank, right, to use at some point. Yeah. And they're kind of tying Ellie playing the guitar with teaching her. And I think there's a really beautiful scene that we're maybe not going to get in the game that we're going to get in the show, because Craig and Neil have like some extra things they want to throw in. Like, remember the whole Bill and Frank episode? One of the most beautiful love stories ever told on TV. I think they've got a few things that they want to hold back for.
I don't think they can do Future Days because I don't think it was out by the time Outbreak Day happened.
Yeah, they've already addressed that though, and it's going to be there. We should also point out, I guess, so there's a little nod to the game, is if you are in this exploration world, you could also go into a bank and find in a safety deposit box the Sir Francis String Rake from Uncharted. So Nathan Drake's Sic Parvis Magna Ring is in there, which links Uncharted to the Last of Us world. Not that it's anywhere in the show. Yeah. It's a nice little Easter egg and a nod to the Naughty Dogs of the games. Imagine if Tom Holland just rocks up with a little cameo.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, actually. That'd be such a cool cameo.
Actually, I always think with the crossovers, I'm always curious. Like, we've seen Troy Baker, we've seen Ashley Johnson, we've seen Laura Bailey as well. Do you think there's anyone else to try and get in for a little game mocap cameo? There's not many left, to be fair. I think Nolan North could squeeze in there somewhere. Work with Neil on many projects. Was
Nolan North actually in The Last of Us at any point?
He was David.
Oh yeah, of course.
Come on, Ellie.
Yeah,
little pieces.
Yeah,
he's the
maybe.
He's the
Hannah. I could see him being given a small role.
He was in the Uncharted movie as well. But we digress. Yeah. We need to address though, Richie, the big guitar-sized elephant in the room. Ellie's behaviour. Do you know what I'm talking about? She's leaving the fucking guitar out, right? I'm not one for guitars. You are. You've got many of them behind you on a beautiful rack, not just up on the walls to be taken by humidity and nature. So if your house goes to shit, they're all there being protected in your little red room. She finds it in a box after 25 years of preservation. Those little silica packets doing their damn hardest to keep this guitar in pristine condition. She gets it out. She plays one beautiful song to her girlfriend, and then just abandons it to nature. Like, come on. Yeah. Put it back.
Honestly, I'm putting it back in the case and going, I'm not taking it now, but if I get a chance on the way out, I'm just going to grab it.
Bit of entertainment for the road, right?
It's a beautiful instrument. Like, it's a shame to leave it.
Yeah. I think the next person to discover that shop, nothing left.
Yeah.
You said that how difficult the future of music in this world is. Do you know what would help them? If they had the instruments in pristine condition to start with, rather than looking at old ones and going, how the fuck do we make a guitar from scratch?
And even if she didn't want it because she already has a guitar, which is a stupid statement. You can never have enough guitars.
Mm-hmm.
She could trade it for something else back in Jackson.
Yeah, could go back and go trade up, trade down. But we digress. Just put it back in the box. We then cut to, I think Dina says, like, that. I mean, they have a beautiful touching moment. I will say, like, Isabel Merced's kind of performance is like, she does a brilliant job to, I think this is the moment in the game where you kind of like, you just got to applaud Naughty Dog for like the facial expressions and the micro expressions they get on like Dina's face when she's basically falling in love with Ellie in the game.
Yeah.
And then for her to bring that to life in the show, just sits there cross-legged, looking up, all whimsical, doughy-eyed. But then that moment where you can just see, I think she has like a little bit of a tear comes to her eye as well. Because again, in this world, you very rarely get moments like this. We've had Joel's face beaten. We've had half your town massacred by infected, all infections going on. Like, you live in a pretty shit world. So if it's just that moment of levity with someone who you've fallen in love with, beautiful and acted perfectly.
I mean, in the show as well, they're not together yet.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
I think it's just, yeah.
We also talk about, I guess, Bella Ramsey's actual performance. Like, she played the guitar.
Yep, she actually played it.
Note for note, chord for chord, and she sang it as well. Which again, as far as I'm aware, she's not known for her singing in her previous works. She wasn't singing in Game of Thrones. I don't recall Lady Mormont just rocking out some tunes.
She managed to sing it in a way where you could tell how nervous she was.
Vulnerability in her voice. Yeah, beautiful scene all in all, and glad it was in there. It was a very touching moment. We then cut to a very touching moment in a different regard as we see a hob being lit, seemingly in an abandoned restaurant kitchen. We have Isaac, who gives a beautifully detailed monologue about the quality of French cookware and pans being made of copper and the heat transfer and everything like that. And it ends up being a torture scene. Richie, we've walked right into a torture scene with Isaac. He heats up the saucepan. Brilliant monologue, by the way, acted perfectly by Jeffrey Wright in this sequence. Heats up the saucepan. It kind of pans around, and we see a Seraphite.
Pans around.
Didn't even see that one. Pans around to the Seraphite on the floor. Totally exposed. Willy included. Richie, is this the first Willy we've seen in The Last of Us?
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly. I've not been counting, but this is the first one I was like, oh, full frontal.
Well, actually, in season 1, we saw Bill.
Did we?
Willie's another shot. And then
all right. Oh, you're too far ahead of me.
You just didn't get that.
No, you're too far ahead of me for this one. But
I just think about penis.
Yeah, he's full frontal.
Yeah.
But obviously that's the least of his problems, having his pants taken away from him, because he's sat on a tile kitchen floor. Is this the leader of his enemy clan is heating up a saucepan, and you very quickly put two and two together and go, he ain't cooking him a meal, Richie. He's not there to cook him a lovely 3-course French meal. And any movie where you see them heating up metal, it's always going to end bad. Isaac's essentially there to try and get information out of this Seraphite. He's trying to find out when the next Scar attack is going to happen. And you've got a clearly already beaten and bloodied Seraphite tied up on the floor. Starts spouting stuff about the prophet. She fills my soul. He goes on to say, and basically he says about a couple of like religious chants, I guess, of like, may her protect me, all that kind of stuff, which I guess in those moments you've got nothing but religion to help you out. And yeah, the Seraphite explains to Isaac that he's not giving him any information. The wolves won't win. He keeps repeating she fills my soul as he puts the hot saucepan on the back of his hand. You get the sizzling noise. It's human flesh being sizzled by a nice copper French pan. It cuts to outside, and you get the kind of two guards. One looks a bit put off by the situation. Says like, "Oh, what's he doing in there? It's not right." But you hear someone off camera say like, "Isaac knows what he's doing." Cut back inside, you see his like all burnt, crispy skin, all ready to fall off. Yeah. He sticks the pan back on, and starts asking him more. The Seraphite's kind of going through the motions of like his religious stuff. She fills my soul, she protects me, that kind of stuff. Isaac interjects saying, did she fill your soul when you put an arrow through a little boy's head? Do they kind of really get straight into it here? And he's like, you killed our children because you trained them to shoot us, because you killed them, because you broke the truce. They kind of have like a really quick back and forth about basically the blame game. of like, we do what we do because of you, and they do what they do because of you. But it does allude to this truce, which we know about, and I think that's kind of what was starting at the beginning of the episode with Isaac and the lady shaking hands. It's clearly the foundations of some deal they've had in place. But Isaac's not having any of it. He says, we're not playing your chicken and egg game, Scar, and he just wants to get back to it. It's like, right, where is the next attack going to be? The Torchy, I guess, do you call them? The Torturer and the Torchy?
The victim?
Yeah, victim's probably an easy way of saying it. He's not giving up any information. He says that, the Seraphites will win. Isaac tries to explain, like, well, we have automatic weapons, we have hospitals. Like, how do you ever think you're going to win this? And he has a very valid point in terms of just military might. And the Seraphite, just in his own honesty, just says, like, every day, one of your people comes and joins us, takes the, I guess, pledge of the scars or something. I can't remember what he says. It's like metaphorcation or something like that, which I'm guessing is where they cut the scars on the cheeks and kind of come over to the scar side.
Every day a wolf becomes a scar, but no wolves ever becomes, no scars ever become wolves.
Yeah. So he says, like, eventually we will win just by, I guess, like love and redemption and filling your soul with the prophet's truth or whatever that they get to. And I think at that point you can kind of see that Isaac goes back for the pan. He turns around. The guy's already holding his hand out, ready for, like, willingly accepting the torture. And I think at that point he's like, he's not giving me anything, right? Like, if he's just willing to succumb to the torture, he's like, I could torture him all day long, and this guy isn't giving me anything. So he just shoots him in the head. We cut back to the guards outside, and you hear the other guard on the door say, like, yeah, Scar got what he deserved, fucking animal. And we pan out to learn that that's the rookie from the opening of the episode. He's now a cold, hardened WLF Seraphite killer, I guess. So we know what decision he made, Richie. Nice way to tie all that back up.
Do.
Interesting stuff. We then join up with Ellie and Dina arriving outside the broadcast station in the middle of the night, chucking it down with rain. And they're plotting out the next move, going through the window. It's already been broken. Presumably, they make a point of, like, showing, like, blood on the window. I don't know if this is, like, are we thinking this is where an infected is broken, a scar's broken? How did you interpret that?
I don't know. I saw the blood in the window, and I don't feel like it led to anything.
Yeah, they, like, allured, like, they kind of positioned it as though it did, but then, like, if that was their escape route, okay, but other than, like, them getting in,
I was saying, as someone got injured getting in, if someone got injured getting in, or someone got injured getting out.
Yeah, but then you're right, it just kind of totally gets left. It was an interesting way of showcasing, I guess, how the game works. Like, we climb on that. I think that Ellie even says, like, they climbed on that, then they climbed on that, and then they went in through the window, which in that part of the game, you do a lot of traversal, right? Climbing up the things to get into the broadcast center. So yeah, they're planning out the next move. They do end up going through that route. The two girls enter the building through the broken window. They find a wolf soldier essentially on the floor, strewn with arrows, which they knew about the Seraphites from when they'd seen them in the forest, but I guess this was the first time they've really seen arrows in use. Like wooden, rudimentary arrows. Like, I'd imagine in Jackson they have arrows somewhere with, like, crossbows or whatever, but they'll be proper arrows, where these are very much just carved from a block of wood and feathered.
Yeah, I feel it's like it is setting up the difference between the Seraphites and the wolves as well, actually going, oh, one faction is using modern military hardware, the other is using traditional weaponry that they craft themselves.
Yeah, it's very much into it. We then continue into the broadcast station, and we find 5 more wolf soldiers hanging from the ceiling by their throats, been strung up and hung. And not only hung, Richie, their entrails are hanging out as well. I don't know if you picked up on that in the dark. Like, their intestines are just hanging out as well. Yeah. This is clearly some kind of, like, statement killing.
To make it even more of a statement, they took all the lighting from the lighting rigs, turned them on, and pointed them at the corpses. Yeah,
very intentional. Trying to send a message, which again, the show's kind of painting the Seraphites out as not good and not bad, and the wolf soldiers are not good and not bad. But then some of the acts of, like, human murder and stuff that they're committing are horrible. But yeah, we find, again, Dina's immediately sick, isn't she? She throws up again. So every time she sees death, essentially, at this moment in time, she throws a very, very dodgy stomach at the moment. They find a radio, which will come into play, I think, no doubt in future episodes, where I think Dina says like it's exactly like the ones they used back at Jackson. It's the same as ours. They know they've radioed for help. They have 10 seconds to react before a group of wolf soldiers break into the room and begin to fan out and search. Again, very much like the video game. I was speaking to my my wife about this one of in the game, this is where you would take out 7-8 people, sneak around, take them down. But in reality, life isn't a video game, and you feel how outnumbered they are immediately. They're hiding under 2 tables. This group of people are coming in, fully militarized, weapons, torches, fanning out. You can't but help think they are screwed in this situation. There's nowhere to go. You can't just quickly sneak away. You can't throw a brick in a bottle. This is real life, and these are real soldiers coming into the room with Ellie and Dina seemingly just shit. We're stuck right now. But Ellie does manage to escape. She kind of gets up to the next floor up. She's pursued by one of the soldiers. Tries the window, doesn't work. Just hides behind the door, which is you're going to be. There's so little hiding places in this building, seemingly. And the soldiers are on the lookout. So yeah, it comes in the room, and Ellie must be he's going to turn around as soon as he walks in that room. You're he's going to turn around at some point.
He's going to turn around.
Yeah, he's not going to search the whole room when he goes in. Anyone who's worth their salt is going to check all your angles. Yeah, absolutely. And then Ellie takes him down. This is, I guess, where we kind of see some of her MMA barnyard fighting coming into practice. Yeah, she tackles the guy. She climbs up, gets her arms wrapped around his neck almost to subdue him a little bit. Another soldier does run in from the other side, and I do wonder, in this moment, what was Ellie's plan there? You see the guy on the floor, going to his colleague, don't shoot me, don't shoot me. But it doesn't matter, because Dina's there, and she shoots the guy right through the back of the head.
I don't think Ellie probably would have had to plan that situation. She's probably just shit.
Use him as a human shield briefly. It works out. In the game, you'd obviously grab him and you'd shoot the guy and stab him in the neck, and it'd all work. But yeah, Dina kills the other guy. Ellie knifes him in the neck, finishes him off. So we should point out, before they entered the building, Dina did address this situation with Ellie, and she asked, if we run into wolves that weren't the group in Jackson, what are we doing? And Ellie doesn't even reply. They just kind of have that look with each other, and Dina just goes agreed. They are in. And then again, talking to the wife in the moment of just, is this not the circle of violence continue again? They've willingly just said, we're going to kill other humans now who have nothing to do with Joel, nothing to do with us. We've never met them. To get to Abby, we are happy now to just murder other people. And again, I guess the contrast with the game is, at this point, you've probably killed a good couple of people, right, at this stage?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, we've already caught up with Jordan, who's the character who's not in the show. We've done the Seravina Hotel, I want to say, at this point as well, if we're at the radio tower. So Ellie's in the game. You as a character and as a player, you've probably already killed about 30 soldiers at this point. Again, contrasting with the reality of a TV show and the reality of real life is no one's going on that run, that killing streak so easily. So yeah, it's seeing Ellie and Dina kind of put aside everything and just go look, we stumble across these people, we are killing them, right? And they just go, yep, they go along with it. And these poor soldiers who found all their friends hung up from the ceiling with their intestines hanging out, Richie, these 2 girls come in, and then just because they found them in a dark room, they get stabbed in the neck and shot through the face. And they might have kids at home. They might have families, loved ones as well. And maybe it'll come back. We'll see. But yeah, the girls flee through the window, out into the street, pursued by the remaining wolf soldiers. Ellie and Dina kind of run through the rain in the dark. They find they can't get over the fence, so they find a small crack. They go through that, and they drop into an old abandoned train station, underground tunnel. The soldiers follow the girls underground, and then they start to light up the tunnels with red flares. Very visual, good cinematography here. See the flares come over. The redness kind of takes all, which is a key part in the game, isn't it? The kind of red's a very distinct color choice. Sure, oh shit, we're in bother right now. One of the flares the soldiers throw, of course, just like the sparkler in episode 1, lands on.
It was episode 1 that led into the Battle of Jackson in episode 2.
It lands on some mushrooms, that pesky mycelial network just showing up everywhere. You can see them curling away in response to the heat and the light. And we know what that's going to happen. You kind of hear stuff pop up. I think one of the soldiers goes I thought it was clear down here. Immediately questioning what the fuck they're doing down there. chasing these two people. They are well organized though, right? To pursue Dina and Ellie down there and use flares, like that's got to be quite a important resource to just go like, yep, let's just throw 3, 4, 5 of them, just to light the tunnel up, and you can hear the sounds. And Dina does the same thing they did in episode 1, I think, when they took down the little shop and she saw the stalker. The little message language of like she holds up her finger and counts them down. She's like 1, 2, 3, 4. You can almost see their expression.
She's trying to count the different noises, like,
and she gets to 5, and at that point you're like, yeah, we're already fucked. We're not only just outnumbered now, but we know what's coming. Shit pops off. The soldiers, do they even do anything? I think there's that many. You see them off in the distance down the other end of the tunnel. It's like, you're talking like, what, 40, 50 of them maybe, give or take. Mixture of like runners and clickers, I think, are in there as well. Horde arrives, wipes all the soldiers out. Ellie and Dina kind of climb on top of the train carriage, climb inside, work their way through all these like dead bodies and stuff. I did want to point out as well, the bodies are skeletons. So they're seemingly died before being infected. There's no mushrooms to be seen in this pile of bodies. What do we think this was? There's a train underground. Do we think it was like the tunnel was blew up to contain an infection? Do we think this was Fedra kind of hiding mass murder from back in the day?
Yeah, it could have been a dumping ground for bodies. It could have been a lot of people in the train station were killed during an outbreak there. Maybe the Fedra soldiers just shot them all.
Yeah, because if you remember that part in episode 1 when Joel and Ellie were on the road, Joel tried to protect Ellie from, but they stumbled across that kind of ditch that had like all bodies, and we saw in the little flashback before the Bill and Frank episode of Fedra literally taking people out of the quarantine zone and just killing them en masse to to save on resources and bodies
to maintain the numbers. Keep the numbers down.
So I just thought it was interesting. They fell into these bodies, and it was like, oh, they're just skeleton people. So they were killed before being infected. And yet there was loads of them that were wading through them to try and get out. As of course the infected like battering on the carriage. I thought it was a really good, like the cinematography in this whole screen, not only just the red flares, but just the claustrophobia created with like the banging on the train carriage, and the extras in this show do some phenomenal work to show just like I was saying they're not like traditional zombies. They've got like a bit more like frenetic movement to them. They're quite twitchy and super fast. They're like the ones from World War Z.
It's why the show takes so long to produce sometimes, because it takes a long time to produce shots like this, which don't actually last that long.
No, but you can imagine all the stuff, prosthetics that go into it. The girls work their way through. They end up having to shoot somewhere. They break through the glass, pretty much exhausting all of their ammunition, you would imagine. They get out of the carriage. They go back up into it. Ellie has a narrow escape. They climb over the fence, and we all know these mesh fences, Richie. they don't last too long when you've got a full horde of human bodies against it. They reach the turnstiles, which I guess the best way to describe it is like the steel turnstiles. You would see it like an old football ground or like an old concert area. You don't really get them in modern day stuff. But yeah, old turnstiles that you would see in a...
You still get them in New York in the subway.
Yeah, train stations, like old train stations and stuff. Ellie gets through first. You can see it's so rusty. It just is not smooth at all. Ellie barely gets through initially. Then Gina gets in behind her, trying to get the door through. And before they're fully to safety, one of the runners the front runner catches up with them. The literal front runner catches up with them. It makes a lunge for Dina before Ellie kind of like reaches back through the bars and uses herself as a human shield to protect Dina from being bitten in the process. Saves her life. They shoot her in the head. And I just need to point out, Richie, this is the 4th time Ellie's been bitten this show now. The initial bite with Riley, she got bit when Tess got bit at the same time. Because I remember her looking at her arm and going, oh, well, if it was going to be one of us, it might as well be me, hey? And Tess is like, fuck. When was she bit again? I feel like it's happened again. Oh, the stalker got her on the stomach, didn't it? In episode 2.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Episode 1.
Let's get bit.
And then here we are. It's a good thing she's bloody immune, otherwise she would be long gone. But she essentially gives herself to protect Dina, human shield. And I guess in this point with the bite, we should acknowledge that in the video game, this scene kind of plays out a little bit differently. When they go underground, there's spores everywhere, and we know spores aren't in the show as of yet, because the director and Neil Druckmann wanted to show the actor's face. Like, imagine if all of season 1 was just Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey with gas masks on.
Yeah.
You can't really convey the emotion, the acting quality that you want. So, yeah, in the show, they kind of have the same kind of run away from the clickers underground and stuff. You have the fight scene.
The turnstile scene's in there, but doesn't the floor collapse on them, and that's where Ellie's mask gets damaged?
She gets attacked, I think, by one of them, and it like gets her head cracked against something, and then they kind of get free of the clickers and stuff, and just as they get that moment, and Dina's like, "Oh, Ellie, your mask," and Dina immediately responds to say like, "Oh, here, have mine," and goes to take it off, and he like slams her against the wall and says like, "No, don't, like I'm fine, I'm immune." And in the moment, Dina's like, what? She's like, look, I'm fine. And it showcases her breathing the spores in and isn't coughing or nothing like that. And then we get that, reveal. So, like, Ellie pretty much in the moment has to say to Dina, like, I'm immune. I'm fine. I can't get infected. Look at me. Look. And then she rips her mask off and says, look, I'm breathing it. I'm fine. That's how it happens in the game. But I guess because of the lack of spores here, I thought it was a nice, I guess, a way of conveying the same emotional beats, but in a more grounded way.
I think I actually prefer this version because it's not immediate. They still have to get out of the immediate situation and then deal with the aftermath afterwards.
Yeah.
Where it's not just Ellie going, oh, I'm immune. And Dina goes,
no.
Okay.
It's like,
there's more to it than that, but yeah.
Which, does add an extra element to their relationship. The girls escape out into the street. Once again, Ellie kind of heads off for Sanctuary. They find, like, the abandoned theatre. But what I really liked about this moment is the camera immediately sits on Dina for that little bit longer in the rain with the lightning flashing, and it flashes on the gun in her hand still. And you've got to imagine, like, again, us as an audience, we know Ellie's immune. But as you said, in that moment of just saying for her life, she's like, I've just witnessed her get bit, and I know what happens when people get bit.
I think this is why it was important in episode 3, which we didn't think we touched on in last episode, is in the aftermath, one of the guys hands over his gun to someone who shoots him because he's got bit, shows him his arm, and he shoots him. That's kind of the protocol in Jackson, apparently.
Yeah,
so when someone gets bit, you put them out of misery. Yeah,
episode 2, isn't it? It's just, as it cuts back after Joel's death, you see the guy just like, look, I'm dead. Kill me now. Put me out of my misery. And like Dina knows what's happening. Like, she's literally just like not only had her life saved by Ellie, but immediately has to come to terms with everyone in her life she's ever known or seen be bit. They're gone. So that acceptance, I guess, of like, we're fucked here. Like, Ellie's dead. I'm on my own now. Knowing what she knows in her own head, she's like a million miles from home now. Not a million, but you know what I mean. And they escape. They head towards the theater in the rain. Slightly different in the game. It does say Cassandra is the like kind of the fancy show that's on at the theater, which I always think is a nod to Uncharted once again. Nathan Drake's mother is called Cassandra. Do you recognise the date on the theatre, Richie? Got a very interesting date this time round.
I didn't see it.
September the 2nd.
Oh, okay.
So it's my birthday. So only particularly important to me, but I just thought, like, watching the show, I was like, paused it while me and my wife were watching it. I was like, hey, look at that.
As we talk about, I was looking through a few websites, looking through Easter eggs, trying to figure out what the relevance of the date is, but nowhere it was actually even picking up on a date.
Yeah, it might be in an Easter egg in like months to come, but for me, my personal Easter egg is that 2nd of September, my birthday, is the date, which made me think, I was like, is that the date the apocalypse happened in the show? If that's the date on the theater,
it could be that's the day it was meant to. It was meant to come
out.
Might be a pre-advert.
Yeah, absolutely. But just a little one there. The girls break into the theater, leave the door wide open as well. I will point out, Dean is kind of again just, I guess, in shock, coming to terms with what's just happening. Ellie straight away grabbing a couch, kind of sealing up the door, and then we turn round, and I guess rightly so, Dina's got a gun pointed on her because she might not know how quick people turn, but she knows once you're bit, it's going to happen. And we get this brilliant kind of standoff moment of Ellie, I guess for the first time in a long time, having to really fight for her life, because Dina could pull the trigger at any moment. She even says, don't make this harder. Like, in her head, she's like, if I just put her out of her misery now, don't let her grovel. Let's not say goodbye. You've been bit, you're dead. Bang. It's the nicest thing to do is just put you down before you go crazy. And Dean is very, very lucky she gives Ellie, I guess, those couple of minutes to just, like, I guess, make a claim and sell it. They have a really good back and forth thing of Ellie going, like, Dina, don't you dare fucking shoot me. Like, could you imagine trying to explain to your partner in that moment, like, just don't kill me. Like, I'm fine. But then Dina's like, you're not. Everybody says that. Everyone says, I'll be fine. I'll wake up tomorrow. But you know in your heart of hearts, you're dead. And I'm sorry. Yeah. But gun in hand, in the moment, Ellie's kind of lucky Dina just doesn't do it. Like, I keep thinking, like, at any moment as she's, like, pouring her hand, I'm going, look, I'm immune. I've been bit. You just be like, bang. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. And she would never have known. But
I feel like I'm the sort of person where in that situation, I'd have to pull the trigger immediately. Otherwise, as soon as I hesitate, that's it. I don't think I could bring myself
the sob story of like, oh, you don't need to kill me. Like, we've gone through so much together. Like, I might be fine. You never know. Like, yeah. I think Ellie's line, she says, like, I would die for you, but that's not what this is. It's quite good because she's like, from Dina's point of view, like, she has just given a life for her to protect her.
Like, what she actually says is, please listen to me. I would die for you. I would, but that is not what just happened. Fuck, I'm immune.
Yeah, she has that like, oh, fuck, do I tell her? But it's like, you have to tell her because she's going to shoot you.
It's like, fuck,
yeah,
I'm immune.
And again, back to the game, we alluded to it on previous episodes, but Ellie and Dina have this kind of intimate moment in Eugene's kind of weed den when they both get high and they get intimate with each other. And Ellie says, like, she tells Dina, she's like, oh, this was a bite mark. Like, I'm immune. And Dina's like, oh, shut up. Like, you just have me on. And Ellie's telling her the truth. She's bearing her soul to her. And it doesn't come to fruition until, I guess, the gas mask thing later on in the game. And she's like, you were telling the truth. That's not happened in the show.
The way Ellie tells Dina, though, initially, is like, as if it's joking around, oh, yeah, it's a bite mark. I poured, like, acid on it to hide it. Yeah. Like, and it's so easy for us to stop joking around.
Yeah. And again, in this world, when every single other person but Ellie dies or turns, what's going through Dina's head at this moment? She's got big news, which we're going to get to in a second. She's on her own, essentially now. She thinks Ellie's going to turn or have to kill her in the next couple of minutes at least. You've just been scared shitless in the subway by 50 infected. You're being hunted by wolves. The weather's shit as well. And there's not even a movie shown at this theatre. So, like, she must be in a complete headspin right now. But, seemingly Ellie's pleas work. And she says to Dina, like, look, I'll go sleep on that couch. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to sleep on the couch. Keep your gun on me all night. And if I turn, shoot me. But I promise you I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'll be fine. And then I do not know how Ellie actually went to sleep in this moment. I feel like we've all had bad nights.
You've got to think she actually didn't. Like, she's just going to pretend to be asleep.
Like, do you even try and, like, I'm thinking in that scenario is like, would I try and maybe tie Dina up for a day just to say, like, look, I'm proving to you, because she could just like go, I tell you what, I'll let Ellie go to sleep and I'll do it peacefully in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So let her go to sleep and then bang in the head. Like, Ellie's quite stupidly brave by actually going to sleep.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm Ellie, I'm not going to go to sleep. I'm going to sit on the couch and we're going to just
talk it out,
whatever, all night.
Yeah. Like she did with Sam, right? When poor little Sam got bit, she said to him, like, oh, like, let's rub my blood on you. It's like, it's the cure. Let's just stay up talking. And because kids being kids can fall asleep anywhere at any time. But it's two adults. You'd be like, right, you will see I'm not going crazy because I'm going to be able to sit here and just talk to you. Not twitching. Yeah. I'd be worried if I went to sleep.
Dina should have tied Ellie up. Yes. Tie Ellie to the chair.
Yeah.
And in the morning, if I've turned, easy kill.
Absolutely. But no, she just goes to sleep on the couch. And I'd be worried about, like, snoring or having, like, a nightmare myself after, like, you've just witnessed how much shit in the sub. You've witnessed nightmare fuel mere minutes prior.
I'd be worried to sleep.
Yeah, no, not at all. I'd be worried I'd snore too loud and she just put me to sleep permanently off the back of that. Water
drip, however,
yeah,
no problems.
Yeah, water drips in her face, wakes her up. says like, look, it's just water on my face. I'm fine. She shows Dina the bite mark, and it hasn't taken effect. She's got the little nibbles in her skin. And then you can almost like sense like, actually I should point out as well, this whole scene, like Dina's got like the flashlight.
Yeah.
In camera, and I said to my wife while watching it, I was like, you know what? Even though it's on a TV and it's not a real torch, that's fucking bright light right down the camera. I was like, from a cinematography standpoint, I get why they've done it, but I was like, this is quite irritating. You know, sometimes when you turn your PlayStation on, it's got a white load screen. Yeah, HDR. And it's like, fuck, that is a bright screen. I was like, Dina, get the torch out of my eyes, please. But you know why they're doing it. They're showcasing, like, they don't want you to see Dina's expressions in that moment. And then, yeah, she turns the torch off. She gets out like a warmer lantern, thankfully. And then, yeah, Dina just, like, I guess bears her secrets true as well. Ellie said hers. She's told her it was immune. She was telling the truth. And I guess at the brink of losing everything, Dina just goes like, right, now is the time now. I've not lost her. I need to tell her. Yeah. You know, it's almost like if you have a near-death experience, you almost like,
I think she gets that massive relief.
Yeah. Like, I can tell you anything. And yeah, she just...
And any doubts probably she was having are gone.
Yeah. Ellie's immune. And yeah, Dina just comes out with it. She's like, Ellie, I'm pregnant, which Ellie was not expecting in the slightest. They immediately embrace. Dina just kisses Ellie very passionately, and the girls get intimate very quickly. Drop to the floor.
Yeah.
A bit jarring, honestly. I felt in this one. Like, I get why, but to go from not dead to finding out I'm pregnant, which is a big thing in itself, especially when there's no boy involved, science, and then all of a sudden they're just getting down with it on the floor. Bear in mind, there's wolves outside, and surely Clickers mere meters away in the underground. Like, let's get it on.
I feel like after everything that went through the previous night, it's just a case of once they've got over that, Ellie's clearly fine, and that just Dina's a secret that Dina's been keeping. She's just really revealed that to Ellie. It's just a case of they both clearly want it. They have one for some time, and they just go.
It's now. Now is the moment. Which living on the edge. Again, heightened emotions, heightened adrenaline, just everything. The excitement, the thrill, the relief.
The sexual tension is just broken. It's just like, go.
Yeah, go for it. And they get it on the floor. Just a short scene. We cut to the next morning. They're kind of embracing on the floor. That typical like morning wake up routine. They joke about bad breath, and somehow Dina thinks beef jerky is the cure for morning breath in a post apocalypse.
Me and my girlfriend were joking, saying in that situation, no Avers are giving a shit about bad breath.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they still got the bite mark and everything.
They probably had bad breath the night before.
I mean, how scarce is toothpaste in this world right now? They probably all have horribly rotting teeth back in like the 1800s all over again. Because we
didn't see Ellie or Dina brush their teeth.
Not once. But it's okay because they've got beef jerky instead. But yeah, they kind of wake up, embrace on the floor. They're kind of cuddling, just like clearly like just again madly in love. Kind of bear everything together now. There's like no secrets between them. Dina kind of discusses her sexuality in her past when she was younger, and she says, when I was little, I told my mother I like boys and girls. I like girls and boys. Her mother said, no, you like boys. And that kind of sets up like Dina's explanation of like, I did try. Like I tried with Jesse, and like he's a lovely guy, but he just wasn't the one. And then we kind of get into Ellie question like, well, how were you pregnant? Like, how does it work? And Dina says, well, like, scrambles over to her backpack, and she's like, when we were at the pharmacy, I found these pregnancy tests, and she's like, I peed on it. I thought the best joke in the whole episode, this, where she's like, what, you peeing? She's like, yeah, that's how it works. I don't just go around pissing on stuff. It's like, that's just brilliant. And then, the realization is just like, oh, it's a bit old, it's a bit out of date. And Dina's just got this collection of tests of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like, okay. And Ellie's like, so we are having a baby. Like straight away, she's so into this relationship already.
Yeah.
She doesn't even bat an eyelid. She's like, they've only just, I guess, consummated their relationship hours before, and she's like, we're having a baby, and she's cool with it.
In some ways, though, their relationship probably started before they both acknowledged it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
They've been close friends for a long time. Their relationship has just evolved into something. It's
beyond friendship.
Yeah.
And we get another joke of Ellie saying like, "Yeah, I'm going to be a dad." Which again, it's you've got that kind of traditional relationship of like,
I thought it was a great joke. That I said, "Holy shit, I'm going to be a dad."
Yeah, you got two girls, and you've got traditionally one would take up like I guess the dad role in that relationship. So it was quite good and interesting, like kind of little under the microscope view of like Joel's role was Ellie's dad, and then it's natural, right, that then there's another child coming into the world. And Ellie's immediate thing is like, I'm going to be the Joel father figure that I was. All those good Joel dadisms that looked after her, protected her, did what was best for her. Like Ellie immediately is like, yeah, I'm going to be that figurehead in this child's life. And it does just kind of like echo Joel a little bit. And the girls kind of like, they're just planning out. They say a little bit about like, I guess, and Jesse as well. And this is where in a post-apocalypse world, what are the rules with like thruples and Jesse's involvement? Like you figure it out because I guess there is no rules because you're living in the wild survival. If Jackson won't have you, I guess you just go live elsewhere. Like there is no rules.
I suppose Ellie's more of a stepdad.
Yeah, but then again, in a post-apocalypse world, is it who knows? Like for as far as they know, they might never see Jesse again in their life.
True.
But it does add a different dynamic to the whole situation now, Richie, because if Dina's pregnant, that's a whole other problem for this situation because these two girls are on a murderous rampage to hunt down Abby, buried in a part of Seattle, surrounded by an army. And you can't help but think, like, girls, just go home. Like, you've got a child on the way. Dean is clearly not going to be up to it. As more time passes, she needs proper food, proper rest to help this baby.
So I think something happened. This scene played out differently in the game where in the show, Ellie's joking on saying, "Oh, holy shit, I'm going to be a dad." In the game, she calls Dina a burden. Like, she's very much not accepting of the news in a very good way when she finds out.
Yeah, you kind of just walk off into the theater, right, and have like a browse around and just let her go to sleep on the couch. It's like that's as far as you discuss it.
Ellie goes deeper and deeper in the path of vengeance, it's going to put a wedge now between her and Dina.
Yeah, she's like, "Are you with me?"
I feel like Ellie starting to feel like Dina's a burden is going to start happening as we go on.
It could work very interesting in the show because you're right. It's like she is a burden because you can't take a pregnant lady into a war zone. But then you're right. How much does that put tension on their relationship? Being like, right, are you here for me and the child, or are you that hell bent on killing this Abby girl? That like, where are your priorities right now? Because they do
after
change.
Probably a few times when they just get out lives like, I can't keep doing this. Like kind of thing.
If you want to be there for me, then be there for me. Don't go running off chasing this ghost in Seattle where you could die as well, and you might never come back to me. It's going to create a very interesting dynamic in this show, and I'm very curious to see how it pans out. The girls then hear the radio that they found the previous night. Basically, static comes on, and you can hear some wolves presumably talking about a fight breaking out, and they quote saying, "Bring the wounded to Lake Hill. Tell Nora to get ready," which you can see both their ears prick up like, Nora? Nora's one of Abby's friends. Shit. Girls run to the rooftop to get a better look at the area to kind of map out where they're actually at after all of last night's insane shenanigans. And they kind of figure out whereabouts they're at. Lake Hill's over in the distance, which then you see like explosives, smoke plumes going up. And I think that at that moment, they realize this whole adventure is a bit bigger than they initially thought. Like there's literal citywide explosions going off. On the scale of that, I think Ellie and Dina,
they're in the war zone.
Yeah, absolutely. They are in an absolute war zone between two factions, the Wolves and the Scars, with more firepower. As we've seen as an audience, we've seen tanks and trucks and organized military marching down the streets. And they're just thinking they're chasing 5 people. Ex-Fireflies who hunted Joel down. That's when Ellie says, like, Dina, you can go home. And she grabs her hand and says, like, no, we're in it together. We do this together. But again, I can't help but look at them on the rooftop and just be like, go home, girls. Go home and live your best life. Yeah. Like, it absolutely sucks what Joel did. But at this stage, Dina's with child. Priorities. But that brings us to the end of the episode. A couple of things I think we probably should get into, Richie, regarding this episode and the differences with the game in particular. I mentioned it earlier on, but clearly we're skipping a big chunk of the game where Jordan, Leah, with a boob photo, remember? That's what lures us to Nora in the hospital. Nick, who's killed in the Serafina Hotel by Tommy. And I guess that brings us to the whole point of Tommy and Jesse. When are they coming into this? Because at this stage in the game, we'd be following in Tommy's tracks. We found little clues that lead to Tommy. We found Tommy's dead horse. We found Tommy's interrogation plans. Remember in the hotel, you found the body where he did the Joel trick where you stab him in the leg and say, tell me on the map where the next base is or something. And then if he lies to you, then you kill them both anyway.
You tell two people to point out the map of the dome. If the match, they tell them the truth. Yeah,
but we've seen none of that. So, do you think Tommy's going to be behind them in the show, or are we just done with his character for now?
I don't know. I feel like he needs to come back into it because he's so kind of important.
He's Joel's brother. He's got all the reason to be here that Ellie does.
But I don't know when he could have left because in the game he leaves probably a few days before Ellie does.
He sneaks out while she's still getting things together. But because even in the game you don't see Tommy for quite a while until you almost get to the marina area, and you see a little bit from Abby's perspective. But
because Jesse's a surprise actually, because you feel like you're on the trail of Tommy. You keep finding like clues, like we're getting closer. Then you bump into Jesse.
Yeah. Whereas in this situation in the show, both of them are back at Jackson. So you would presume if you were Maria, you'd be like, right, Tommy wants to go after Joel's killer, but at the same time, Tommy's going to go after Ellie. Jesse, in a relationship with Dina to some degree, Jesse's going to be like, right, well, I'm going after Dina. So in the event of the council aren't going to suddenly grant a 16-person posse to go after them two, because they left at their own volition, you'd imagine Tommy and Jesse then are also going to sneak out to help bring them back. And I think Tommy and Jesse might show up as a duo at some point in the show to maybe save Ellie and Dina from a problem that might arise with infected or wolves or Seraphites or something.
I'm not sure. I don't mind Jesse doing that, but with Tommy though, I kind of want to see the brutality because he's very brutal in the game, isn't he?
He's a great sniper.
In terms of he is a great sniper. He's very brutal in his approach, but it almost doesn't feel like that's Tommy in the show anymore.
He's got a kid in the show as well, so he's got his other reasons. Back to circling around to Dina, like your priorities with a child are different. No Abby yet, which again, this is now 2 episodes on the bounce. Yeah. We've not seen anything from Abby other than Nora being mentioned right at the end. They're out there in Seattle, presumably. They're back with their wolf friends, just wolfing about.
I think we might see Seattle Day 1 again next episode. Now we've seen what Ellie's doing. Now we'll cut to Abby.
Yeah, I mean the next time on The Last of Us, they kind of preview the do shows just a little.
I forget to watch that.
Yeah, it's like a minute long. It just shows you just more of Dina and Ellie being in and around Seattle, so it doesn't really give much away actually. Yeah. Shimmer. They're just going to leave Shimmer in the music shop.
Yeah, I think he's gone.
Better than the way Shimmer goes in the game.
He's no longer with us in the game at this point.
So they get like
he doesn't survive past the open world section, does he?
Yeah, I think as you reach the end, I think there's a bomb goes off. That's when Ellie gets captured. Dina rolls out, hides somewhere. Then you get took with Jordan back to it's a primary school, right? Like a kindergarten school.
Yeah.
Dina kills Jordan through the roof. She falls through, doesn't she, on the table, and then Ellie gets free from the chair, stabs Jordan in the neck. They find the photos that are the whole group of Abby's like friends taking Polaroids, and then that leads them to the hospital where Nora's at. So that part's all being skipped as well. But in this way, it just means Shimmer's just been left to guard that guitar, Richie. Hopefully the horse can get out the building.
You might see Shimmer come back at the end when they leave Seattle.
Yeah, we need a ride home. This is a quick way. Oh, remember when we left that horse in the music shop?
Yeah.
Let's go see if it's still alive. It's eating all the guitars and drum kits. And then I guess the final one is, now this is episode 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 3 episodes left. When are we going to get to this Eugene episode? Like, I don't
know. I'm now wondering, what is the point of the Eugene episode?
Yeah, I really thought it was going to be maybe episode 3, like Bill and Frank's was. But now we're up to episode 5. It feels like late in the game to introduce a character we've never met yet, for us to care about him, and then seemingly lose him. We know we're going to get more Pedro Pascal because it's going to have to be a flashback. But yeah, I'm struggling to see where it's going to fit into making me even care. But I also trust Neil and Craig to do it because they haven't let us down so far.
I do think we will go back to Jackson at some point in the series. Not Ellie and Dina, but the show will take us back to
Jackson.
Jackson.
Where's Tommy? Where's Maria? Where's Jesse?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, Jesse and Tommy should be in Seattle, so we probably need to see that.
Interesting. But yeah,
so I don't know.
3 left, which is interesting. But yeah, like at some point, you'd imagine before the finale, Ellie and Dina are going to have to catch up with some of Abby's crew, presumably Nora's next week.
Yeah, I think Nora's.
The trailer did allude to spores being introduced next week.
Yeah, they are definitely in. I don't know whether it'll be next week, but the spores will be making an appearance.
I think one of the still images shows, from the trailer, it's like there's a room seemingly at the hospital where Nora's at, similar to the game actually, where, you know, like the ground floor where patient 0 would have been during the outbreak, or one of the patient 0s. They've been locked down there for 30 years nearly at this point. They are the highest stage of infected you've ever seen. And I think there's one that's, you know, the ones that are part of the wall in the game, like they can't even move because they're just embedded in the furniture.
Yeah.
It looks like they kind of like let out from the mouth, you know, where like the little fungus things come out of the mouth. It looks like they evolve into spores and they kind of like cough it out into the atmosphere. And that's where the spores are going to originate from, like a stage 15 infected. That's what they do. They kind of knuckle down, they bed themselves into the building and then just emit spores into the atmosphere, like I guess funguses do in real life.
Yeah.
Spores everywhere. But we'll find out next week, because that does bring us an end to the show. And we all like to round out every single week's episode by looking at the performance of the week, the moment of the week, and the best game adaptation of the week as well. Richie, where would you like to put your mark on this week's best performance?
I think performance, I think it's going to go Isabella Merced.
Dina.
Yeah, I feel like the scenes where she's having to confront potentially killing Ellie, and even just the way that shows one side of it, that absolute of her ability as an actress.
Yeah.
But then there's also the moment where she's listening to Ellie play. The subtle emotion on her face as she's falling in love. I think it was phenomenal from her.
Yeah. I think I completely agree with that. I think performance of the week, undoubtedly, between the love musical interlude and the gunpoint scene at the end, just the range of emotion, like similar to what we've praised Bella Ramsey for and Pedro Pascal and pretty much everyone in the show so far, is the way Craig as the directors and the other showrunners are able to like just squeeze such a professional performance out of these actors and actresses. It's insane. Like, yeah, the subtle nuances in, like I said, like the eyes tearing up and the brief bits of smile. But honestly, I'm just like blown away by Dina's character all in all. I think she's so likable as an audience, as a viewer.
Yeah.
You just can't help but think like you want to be her friend. Like, she does everything to be like, yeah, I can totally see why Ellie's fallen in love with her. She's got that charm, that charisma, that confidence that you're like, she hasn't put a foot wrong, right? Yeah, she's been she's helped Ellie on her adventure. She's flirted with her in all the right ways. Like, there's no surprise Ellie's fallen in love with her. And yeah, you'd imagine like people. I've spoke to a few people who haven't played the game, and like the other week they thought when Joel went, they thought Dina was gonna go, and then I think now every week, now Pedro's gone. Remember Game of Thrones when they started knocking off important characters? Like every week you were on the edge of your seat. How many people watched this week's episode with the tunnel sequence and thought like, this is it?
This could be it for Dina.
Dina's last. The gate won't rotate. and there's a runner coming at her. Like, they must thought, shit, they're going to do it, they're going to do it. And then, Ellie saves the day.
They could have done that. It would have helped Ellie double down in her quest for vengeance, because it was the wolves that pushed them into that situation.
Mm-hmm. So, interesting. But I agree. Performance of the week, Isabella Merced, which I learned this week, played Dora the Explorer in the live-action Dora the Explorer movie.
Well, there you go.
So there you go. She's out there exploring the funguses now. That's performance of the week. Moment of the week.
I think it was probably Take On Me.
Yeah, it was.
There was some awesome action scenes, and even like when they got to the broadcast thing, that set piece where you get have the bodies dangling.
Very.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah,
very visual. I think lots of HBO's budget, just the visuals are outstanding, aren't they? Like
they were actually stunt actors hanging from the ceiling.
They killed 5 people just to get that shot.
No, they were in harnesses.
Gutted them, hung them just for the authenticity.
But they genuinely put stunt actors up there.
That's mad. Yeah. But between that and then I just think like the whole visuals of like you kind of forget that Seattle isn't a real place. That in the show, like
Seattle is a real place.
You know what I mean? Like what you're witnessing, like the destroyed nature reclaimed world.
Yeah,
it's all got to be green screen.
It looks amazing.
It's all amazing. CGI, and you just kind of you're watching the show and you don't even think twice.
It's not though. A lot of it is the made sets, the crafted physical sets for a lot of it.
No, I mean
they'll be using CGI top-ups, but wide shots will be, but things like the guitar shop, that was an actual set that they built for them scenes.
The Naughty Dog staff must go insane when they get to visit the set and just see like everything they made 7 years ago through concept art to making a game, to putting the game out and then just moving on to Intergalactic Project. To then go like, oh, Neil's invited us to the set for the day, and you just get to walk into your creation fully realized in stunning detail. It must be mad. It must be incredible. It must be insane. And then I think I know what it is as well, but the best game adaptation of the week goes to
same moment.
Yeah, the guitar scene for me as well. Yeah, again, it's pretty much just 1 for 1. The song, the guitar, the layout, Dina sitting down. The exploring the music shop beforehand is... I almost felt like if you turned the camera around, I knew where things were. It was like, if you go downstairs, there's a little tiny room there. There'll be some scavenging parts over that little broken bit of wood there. And it was great.
I feel like in last week's episode, I struggled to pick one because there wasn't really any standout scenes. Mm-hmm. It was a decent episode, but there's no scenes that really took it away. I think for game adaptation, we could have went for things like the subway tunnel as well.
Yeah. Different elements, because I think when the red flares come up in the game, there's parts in the hospital that are predominant with the flares. But
a moment of the week we could have went with the theatre. I think we had a bit more choice this week.
I'd agree. Yeah. But all in all, another fantastic episode, and I think I'm interested to see where the remaining 3 goes, because again, they always traditionally you try and do something big for the penultimate episode, and then you kind of wrap it up in the finale. But I'm like, knowing the game and knowing we've got another season as well, I'm like, how are they going to pace this leading it? Like, what is the finale going to be? But we'll get into that. We'll talk about that in future episodes. In future days, Richie, we'll talk about that. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching along. Don't forget to run along to the comments. Stalk at us on social media at GamerGuild TV. Clicker that notification bell and blow to yourself on all of our other amazing content like the GamerGuild Podcast, like our weekly live streams and shows that go up. And of course, if you want to support the channel, become a member from as little as 99p. You can do that by clicking join below on the YouTube video. Hopefully this show finds you well over on your podcast feeds as well. Just search for GamerGuild TV or the ClickerCast. You'll find us over there every week when it goes up. But above all else, endure and survive. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
Goodbye.
Bye.